All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the 10-4 Detroit Lions. Now, folks, the Detroit Lions are 10-4. And it feels like I say this on every single video that I make about this Detroit team because I want to remind my Detroit Lion fans that before this season had actually began, nobody was fully bought in. People outside the Detroit Lions fan base, outside of the city of Detroit, and every Lions supporter, every Lions player, every Lions coach out there, people were still skeptical. Guys, this team last year at the halfway point was 1-6. They were 1-6. They finished the season 9-8. And this year, this offseason, rather, all we heard or all I heard was just not fully bought in. You know, I don't know if I fully believe that Jared Goff is that guy. I don't think that they have the defense for it. At the end of the day, the Detroit Lions are still going to Detroit Lion. All right. And I heard this quote here, and this is a tweet from Eric Woodyard. Dan Campbell said that the current Lions aren't carrying the weight of the past to clinch their first division title since '93, but quote unquote, I definitely understand the history. You're telling me that we can be a divisional winner for the first time in 30 years for an organization that's special. And what's different, and to me, what separates this Detroit Lions culture is that none of their record doesn't matter, right? Last year, 1-6 to 9-8 doesn't matter. They're still focused on getting the job done, and they're still focused on winning the Super Bowl. And Dan Campbell and this Detroit Lions team, they don't listen to the outside noise. Even though the Detroit Lions are 10-4, everybody still loves to say, oh, well, they lost, 38-3 against the Ravens. They lost in week 2 to Seattle. They lost to the Chicago Bears, who, by the way, have a really good defense. They're like the third best rushing defense in the National Football League. They lost to the Green Bay Packers on a short week. And at that time, the Green Bay Packers, and I'm a cheesehead, so this is a little bit biased. The Packers, I think, were like 6-8. They're a pretty solid team. All right. Everybody loves to rag on our defense, blah, blah, blah. This isn't a Packers video, but you get my point here. They still, as Dan Campbell would say, want to break kneecaps, eat kneecaps. They're still proving everybody wrong, and everybody is fully bought in. And we have a fun stat. I'll get into that in just a second. But before we do, if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Lions fans, I absolutely love you guys so much. If trying to get this video to 250 likes, that would mean the absolute world to me. So here's a fun fact. In the 5 games that the Lions offensive line has been fully healthy, they are averaging 421 yards per game and 38.4 points per game. That can win you a Super Bowl. All right. I get defensive concerns. I understand it. Expectations are high because you're 10-4. But folks, if we see in the last 3 weeks what we saw against Denver, which was pretty much a perfect football game, offensively, defensively, coaching-wise, Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell, Aaron Glenn, this Detroit Lions team will make the conference championship. All right. And I hate the narrative of, especially after losses, I got divisional opponent, like Bears fans, the loss after the Ravens, the loss after the Packers, the loss after the Bears, everybody was just saying Lions are going to Lions. This team is getting healthier and healthier. CJ Gardner-Johnson isn't going to be good to go for this upcoming Sunday, but he's going to play before the regular season ends. We also heard Dan Campbell say that he's optimistic that Aleem McNeil will return this season. I can't give you the timeline, but yes, absolutely, I feel good about getting him back. This Detroit Lions team, and what people like to forget, is the regular season 17 weeks. And for a team that has 17 perfect games is pretty much impossible. I think back to I was probably 12 at this time when the New England Patriots went 16-0. They didn't even win the Super Bowl that season. They're getting their momentum at a good time. And I know we're just basing this. I know they lost a couple of weeks ago. I know we're just basing this off the 42-17 victory. But one thing I know about this Detroit Lions team is they're prepared. They're ready and they're hungry to win football games and prove everybody wrong. But it's not even that they're trying to prove everybody wrong. They're just trying to win football games. They're just focused on their brand, their culture, their element, and getting to the best possible team that they can be. And when I look at this certain statistic, they're 4-0 in primetime games this season. They're 4-0. This team is always ready to play. And some of those victories, I'm thinking like the Las Vegas Raiders game, they're not always going to be 42-17 like last Saturday against the Denver Broncos, but they find ways to win. And I love this sentiment. I say this sentiment way too much on this channel, but it's not college football. And context, unfortunately, for Lions haters literally does not matter. Yes, you can go and nitpick the week 2 overtime loss in which they clawed themselves back into that game and they lost week 2 against Seattle. Yes, we can go back to that Baltimore Ravens game. What's Lamar Jackson's record against NFC teams? It's like 17-1. It's something, or first time NFC opponents. It's something actually insane. Divisional opponents are always going to play you harder. And we've seen that, like you did a couple of weeks ago against the Chicago Bears. Folks, at the end of the day, the Detroit Lions are still learning how to win, and they're still winning. That's what's crazy about it is you can have bad weeks, you can have bad games, you can have bad quarters. In our last Lions video, we looked at the point differential in quarters 1, 2, and 4, and it's so different than quarters 3. But we can go back to games where you bounce back after losses. And it's happened every single week. Week 2, you lost to the Seattle Seahawks. Week 3, you took down Atlanta 20-6. All right. Week 7, you lost on the road 38-6 against the Baltimore Ravens. The week followed primetime football against Las Vegas Raiders. You won, right? Loss against my Cheeseheads on Thanksgiving Day. You followed it up 33-28 against the New Orleans Saints, a playoff competitor team. 13-28 the week after that loss to the Chicago Bears. You took down Denver 42-17. This team is as resilient as they come. So I want to finish this video talking about some things that I want to see in the last 3 weeks of the season. We kind of touched on this actually in our last Lions video. First off, you've got Minnesota this upcoming. You've got Minnesota 2 out of your last 3 games. All right, backup quarterback or triple backup quarterback in Nick Mullins. They're going to blitz you hard. But one thing I absolutely loved about Jared Goff was his poise and control in that football game last week against Denver, who at that time, since they were 1-5, had only given up 16 points per game since week 6. It's been one of the best defenses in the National Football League since they went 1-5. When Jared Goff was blitzed by the Broncos in week 15, because by the way, Minnesota's going to blitz the hell out of you. Brian Flores is going to blitz the hell out of you. All right. 14-21, 178 yards, 4 touchdowns against the blitz. That's Jared Goff's stats last week. Sorry. Now, another thing I absolutely love and I want to see more of is Jahmyr Gibbs. And it also just kind of goes hand in hand with most of these young players because, folks, the regular season, once the regular season ends, it's the playoffs. And there's no excuses and guys just need to be ready to play. Since week 8, the Detroit Lions have gotten at least 140 rushing yards on the ground in all but one game. And in that game, they had 115 rushing yards. That was against the Chicago Bears, who have a top 3 run defense in pretty much every single metric. They only allow actually about a little less than 80 rushing yards per game. In the Bears' second matchup with the Lions, they ran for 140 yards, which was about 2 weeks ago. So they're still learning. They're still improving, but I want to continue to see, especially my young players, my rookies, my year 2 players, guys like Jameson Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Sam Laporta. I want health, obviously, but I want to continue to see these young guys' confidence and momentum rise as high as it possibly can be for what hopes to be a deep playoff run. Now, this was more of a Detroit Lions hype video because it's, Friday, December 22nd, and the Lions play football in a couple of days, but I just want to re-emphasize the point of nobody thought the Lions were actually going to do this. Lions fans thought this, good NFL analysts or good NFL fans thought this, but not too many people actually believed in it. I believe in you guys, and I think this team wins at least 12 games this season. I think they win at least one playoff game, and I cannot wait for the last, hopefully, 6 to 8 weeks of Lions football. That's it for today. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button. But let me know your thoughts on this current Lions team. How far can they get in the playoffs? Let me know down below. Have a great rest of your weekend, and hopefully we'll see you this weekend with another victory.